21 days. That's supposed to be all it takes to make or break a habit. This theory has actually been around for decades, and it started with a very popular self-help book.
In the 1970s, there was a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. It was an excellent self-help book. And a lot of people, in that book, what the author was proposing was that people could create or get rid of bad habits in 21 days. Now, in a self-help book, people could take this, and he had steps that they could do. If you could give up sugar, you wanted to stop smoking cigarettes, you could do it in 21 days. Because it was based on the principle that there were these synaptic changes that would occur by you repeating a behavior over and over. You weaken those synapses, and so that way a new one was built.
The book went on to sell multiple millions of copies, and the 21 days to form a habit myth was born. The book, though, was not based on clinical data, but more so on the experiences of the author and others. But subsequent studies have proved that making or breaking a habit is really entirely dependent on the type of individual that you are.
If you are really somebody who is you're structured and you can follow guidelines and you can stick to it, it could work for those people. But then you have the other people who this will not work for. So you always have to have a plan. Always, because the old pathways are there and it's very easy to fall back into the old habits. They just give up cold turkey on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, and they make resolutions and they say, okay, I'm going to give this up, and then they decide to do this cold turkey. Well, there are certain things you can't just do cold turkey and not replace. Anything that you are going to give up, you need to put something positive to replace it.
Whether you buy into the 21 days to make a new habit or newer studies that suggest 66 days, the formation of a new habit to replace the bad one takes commitment and consistency. And while that sounds simple, it's certainly not easy.
No, that has to become your new way of doing things, and you keep doing it. Now, Prochaska and De Clemente talked about doing things for 6 months, which is more reasonable. After 6 months, we say, okay, you're in maintenance. And after 6 months, then you begin to realize that it is now a new behavior, it's a new way of doing things. So 21 days is a little unrealistic. You can make a new habit, but can you sustain it? If you stop after 21 days, you will not sustain it. For you to say that it is now a new behavior, it has to be about 6 months. I wanted to get off sugar. Your taste buds change after 3 days. You want to give up salt or give up sugar, you just stop for 3 days. Anybody can do that for 3 days. After 3 days, your taste buds begin to change. 7 days, your taste buds have really changed. If you go and eat sugar, everything seems really, really sweet. 21 days, you really are not thinking about it. But if you decide after 21 days, okay, I got this wired, and you do not continue to do the things that you were doing, it's not going to be maintenance.
The underlying fact is that to make any change, you have to start the process and commit to maintaining it. Lovell stresses, though, that people with addiction should not attempt to break addictions on their own.
If your use of anything is causing you problems, making you sick, getting you in legal trouble, getting you in financial trouble, getting you in problems with your spouse or your family, you're not doing your schoolwork, if your use is causing you problems, that's a big part of, that's heading towards addiction, or that's one of the ticks we make for addiction. If you start and you can't stop, you have people who you go out with, and once there's a bottle there, they're not going to leave until that bottle is empty. You're talking about lack of control or loss of control. If the person stops, and they promise families they're going to stop, but they don't stop, they go back. If you keep promising and you keep going back, that is a loss of control, right? If you're having blackouts and with drinking substances, drinking alcohol, if you're having blackouts, that is the hallmark of an addiction, right? The compulsion to use, you absolutely have to. to have a weed every morning. I have to have some alcohol. And if you're having to drink alcohol, hey, if you're having to drink alcohol in the morning to get you going, that is what we call the ultimate sign of alcoholism. If you have to have weed to be able to function, that is an ultimate sign of addiction. Get help. Those things you can't do on your own. You got to either go to Alcoholics Anonymous or you have to go in and get help.